Watching it at 1.5 times speed, so do not adjust your television set, even though that's not a thing anymore. The main reason why we do it at 1.5 times speed is just to make sure that you learn how to get the most value out of pre-recorded content. And you'll see from this presentation how good all this stuff is. So let's get started.
Hey guys, it's Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm so glad you're here and you're getting to see this all from the beginning to the end. Today is a really important day as we're covering a lot of syndication basics and a lot of syndication deep dive too. So you're getting kind of the high and the low. And so what we're going to go through now is probably one of the reasons why you got into multifamily. We started out residential too, and honestly, single family is great, but man, it's a slow roll. And the scalability in multifamily is insane. So our friend Tate here, I met him in June of 2019 at a Michael Blanc event. And he was just getting started. And no lie, he just scored a huge complex. And
just today,
seeing where he is just blows my mind, because I remember meeting him like at the beginning. So this is one of those stories where, like, people hit the big time and you're like, oh, I've known him since when?
Oh, you're so sweet.
So
we love you.
Oh, thank you.
We do. Greenlight loves Lauren Capital and Real Estate Rocks, Real Estate Investing Rocks.
That's too cool.
Yep.
So I'm gonna hand it over to you and let you talk a little bit about your background, and you can talk about your killer deal that you have on a contract, because I'm insanely blown away. Just wow.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. So first of all, it's awesome to be with you and your participants today, and it's an honor. Hopefully I add a ton of value to you guys and your businesses and your trajectory and your career. And that's my intention today, is to be as big a contribution as I can possibly be to your success. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, but I call Utah home, Salt Lake City. I've been here for 22 years, and originally a photographer by trade, but I've been in real estate since 2006, mainly in the single family world. So I have a lot in common with probably a lot of you guys, and with you, Angel, and a lot of other investors in the multifamily space, in that we got our start flipping single family houses, and did that for we being my partner, Carl York, and myself. We started flipping single family houses with real intention and seriousness, and at the end of 2011, and did it really hardcore for about 6 years. And when I say really hardcore, what I mean by that is we didn't do it well. We weren't like mavens at it by any stretch. In fact, we thought it was the smart thing to take all of the money that we had personally in our coffers and try to finance as much of each deal one at a time as we could. And we thought it was smart to GC each job one at a time as we could. So we were incredibly constrained as far as the amount of volume that we could do each year. Like, we legit did maybe 6 houses, maybe 8 houses, like a year at the height of our trajectory. And we did some really nice houses. We did some $1 million plus houses here in Salt Lake, which, a few years back was a really nice house. And it's gotten very expensive here. But so basically, we about 5 years ago had a few things happen. I started going to Real Estate Investor Association meetings, and I highly recommend everybody look for your local Real Estate Investor Association, or REIA, and join it and go to those, get involved, get on the board, volunteer. I met some great connections through that, and got some really great direction from going to REIA talks and listening to speakers. And one of the connections that I made brought us a deal that happened to be a 12-unit multifamily property in South Salt Lake City, which was at the time was kind of a gentrifying area and transitioning. And we had an opportunity to really go in and force appreciation on a little property, but with not much of a CapEx budget when all was said and done, even though we did a full renovation with new roofing and everything else. And, at the time we made $300,000 flipping the place. And, so basically renovating it, doubling rents, and then selling it. And we, thought we were doing great. And it was the biggest deal we had done up to that point. I really wish that we had been in a position to keep that property, quite frankly. And one big takeaway to write down is keep every piece of real estate that you possibly can. But you'll never be sorry that you did, in my opinion. Now, if you're recapitalizing and trading up and releveraging, I get that. But I'd take back, I probably personally sold 50 properties at least of my own. And I would take just about any of them back at this point, here in Utah anyway. So, but when we had that 12 unit and underwrote it and saw the beauty of having cash flow and having rents coming in and having expenses being paid and debt service being paid, like, that was magical to us, because every deal that we had underwritten ever up until that point was a straight value add. Like, you buy it for X, you put Y into it and you sell it for Z, right? Like, and there's no income, there's no, it's all done by comps. There's the valuation process is different. And so it was incredibly eye-opening to us. It was very much of an aha moment for us to do the 12-unit deal. And we really doubled down and on everything we had, we put into going after bigger scale apartments, larger scale apartments. And we started to look in other markets as well. We also hired a mentor, Corey Peterson, who a lot of you will have heard of, the Big Kahuna. I got in his coaching mastermind and learned a tremendous amount from him and got a lot of confidence from him in terms of my ability to go out and get business done and get deals and talk to brokers and talk to investors and whatnot. And so, yeah, we got a 20 unit at the end of 2020 here in Utah. And we weren't really looking hard in Utah at the time. In fact, we had a property under contract in Albuquerque at one point, and we were starting to look in Columbus, Ohio, and Oklahoma City. And this 20 unit came along. And here again, it was in the course of doing other business locally that this realtor happened to own his own 20 unit and wanted to sell it. And so it was kind of an off market situation. And we're under contract to sell that property now, a year and a half later, for not twice what we paid for it, but we put a lot into it. But we're going to do very well on it. And it's our first full cycle deal, so to speak. Well, actually, I guess the 12 unit went full cycle, but this was more of a traditional stabilization repositioning on the 20 unit that we did. And then everything happened and changed for us. We had what Michael Blanc calls the law of the first deal happen. And by that, what I mean is we, as a result of just the momentum behind the 20 unit and us going out and shopping other deals in other markets, we gained enough credibility and we played the game well enough that we were able to get under contract on 179 units and 70 units in the Columbus, Ohio area. That was in late December of 2020. And then we closed those in March of 2021. We later in the summer closed a 51 unit deal in Oklahoma City. And then we had a broker from Oklahoma City call us and she wanted to sell us her personal portfolio, which was 192 units. Long story short, we ended up buying those from her. So that was 2 communities totaling 192 units. And then we bought another 60 units back in Columbus at the end of last year. So we ended up buying a total of 552 units in 2021. And that brings our grand total to 572 units as we currently sit. So that's what happened. And it happened in a very compressed period of time. We literally went from zero, owning nothing. In fact, we not only were at zero, but we were actually in negative land because we were in a couple of development projects that we were in upside down on. So we were digging out of a hole, and we went from that to buying $38 million or so worth of real estate last year. And we just today, as you alluded to, Angel, we just put 360 units in a major market. I'll just put it at that because we're still working on the deals, but on the deal itself and the contract, but a very large scale deal, about twice what we've ever done, and more than twice the value of anything we've ever done before. So we have a goal to do 1,500 doors in 2022. So that'll get us to 2,000 doors at the end of the year. And we should be somewhere in the vicinity of, I don't have it up there on my board, but we should be somewhere in the vicinity, I think, of 160 million in assets under management, somewhere in there when all's said and done.
I'm going to pause it right there because I got to let the audience know the tragedy that is transpiring right now behind the scenes. Tate is here, but we're having technical difficulties with his camera and mic and can't bring him on here. And I'd love to know how that ended up, like what that next part is. So I'm sure he can do the private chat here, but I just wanted to mention that Tate is here. He's in the building. He's coming to the studio, the REI Rocks Review studio, which is where we present out of every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. But let's let him continue in this presentation here. Let's go.
So it's been a really exciting ride. I love talking about it and sharing it with people because I definitely, I work hard and I'm willing to be coached and I'm willing to learn as much as I can, but I don't think that I'm particularly overly talented at any particular aspect of this, to be totally frank. And like, I have a podcast and I say lots of ums and ahs and stammers, and like, I'm okay at what I do. Like, but I want people to see that and,
Can you
and
pause
be
this again
inspired.
real quick?
I'm so glad you asked. Yes.
So
Please do.
He brings up something really important there when he says, he's coachable. and he's willing to be coached, and he doesn't think of himself as some finished product. So he's always working on things. And that's a piece that a lot of people, they think they're coachable and they think they're open to change and to growth. And at the end of the day, we as humans are reluctant to change. And that's just our nature. And so to be coachable and to be willing to grow and change, it takes work. It is not something that comes natural. And you have to be willing and able to do that work and do your part to make the changes that you're being coached on.
I completely agree. And the other reason I wanted to pause it is because your piece of the puzzle is being the outgoing relationship builder, and one of the things I think that's what Tate is trying to say is that he's not going to be the life of the party. People aren't going to come in and just be, oh my God, he's here, but they'll still be very confident in his abilities and everything he can do. But I think this is partly a Generation Z, the Zoomer generation thing as well. I notice a lot of people getting into syndications recently, and they seem to be of a mindset which I think is now dated, which is you need to dazzle everyone. And I don't think dazzling is really what people are looking for. I think that there's some distrust that comes when you try to dazzle the audience. What's your take? I'm just curious what you think since you're so accomplished at building these relationships, Angel.
So I think that there's kind of a misnomer. And this came from when I read the book Quiet, which is really kind of a book for introverts, right? And I actually listened to it on the way to an event. And there was a part of it that really stuck out to me where it says that in your mind to other people, or in their minds, if you're an extrovert, you get a hand up in the intelligence game. Whether it's true or not, people assume that extroverts are smarter. And so I don't think that there's actually any truth to that, because I think about me and Jason, and we have our own zones of genius, but there's plenty of times where he's just over my head. And I think back to when he's helped me prepare for different tests for different things, and there are things that he just gets that I just don't. And he tries to help me, and I'm like, this just isn't happening. And it's the reason why he does underwriting and I don't. What takes him minutes takes me hours. And so I don't think that there's a true correlation between extroversion and introversion when it comes to intelligence. But if you're wanting to one-to-many tons of relationships, you need to be extroverted, or you need to be able to be extroverted in the moment and realize you're going to be extroverted for 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then you're going to go rest and it'll be okay. So it takes different, I guess, runways, but the effectiveness of creating the relationships, I really believe it's the same. The biggest difference is the one-to-many being easier for an extrovert sometimes. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. So we got Tate here, and Tate, I'll fill you in on what we were talking about. You just got to the part where you were having a little bit of vulnerability, saying hey, well, this is who I am. This is, I'm not going to be, number one in this race, gold medal Olympian, that sort of thing. And I was saying about how I think that people are looking for resourcefulness. People are looking for persistence, but I was saying that they're not eager to be dazzled and trying to be, the belle of the ball isn't always the greatest thing. We were talking about how that relates to being introverted versus extroverted, and then the perception that people have of you if you're introverted and extroverted. But on this video here, I know that we always like to set lofty goals, and I don't know the answer. It was talking about you had a goal of 2,000 doors. I don't know if you want to start off with an update or what you want to do here, Tate.
Sure.
And if go for it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. First of all, that expression on my face right now on the video is perfect. I love it. That's I'm gonna use that as a dating app profile pic, I think.
Okay, screen
Yeah,
captured. Here you go.
screen
I'll email it to you.
yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, awesome place to stop. So anyway, it's yeah. So update. We just closed on a 20 unit, or sorry, a 52 unit heavy value add and lot in Oklahoma. So that gets our door count to about 750 ish, just under, I think 745. We're closing on 86 units in 5 days in Columbus, Ohio. And then we have another 52 unit in Columbus. And also we have we're partnering with kind of co-GPing on 142 units in Oklahoma City, and then we're doing the same on 94 units in Columbus, Ohio, where we're partnering with one of my coaching clients that I coach. I have 2 coaching clients we're partnering with right now. So we have a lot in the pipe. We're very, very, very busy right now. We're doing 2 webinars next week for those two, for a Columbus opportunity and for an Oklahoma City opportunity.
Right. I'm so happy to hear that. And I want to read between the lines here for anybody in the audience. You know, if you talk to lenders, if you talk to syndicators, you know, they're saying, nothing's penciling out. Oh, nothing can get funded. Oh, raises don't happen. And Tate is saying the opposite. And that's the beauty of real estate as far as I'm concerned. There's always something going on, and part of it is people opting out on their own, but it's exciting stuff. But Angel, it sounded like you had something else that you wanted to chime in about, but I guess
Not
not.
really.
Right on, right on. So and then Jason, as far as like I thought that the deal with introverts in general is that, you know, if you scratch the surface, there's way more there than meets the eye, and some people just aren't willing to put in the effort. But like I'm curious what you had to chime in about as far as, you know, like we covered a lot of ground as far as like superpowers and all that sort of thing. What are your thoughts, Jason?
I agree with Angel because we both read the Quiet Book on. I mean, and we hear about privileged people all the time based on like skin color, height, their build, sex, stuff like that. But one of them that we don't talk about is the extroversion privilege, where extroverted people do find themselves in better situations because they put them there, and people respond better to extroverts and introverts. And so it takes time to get to know an introvert. The easiest way probably is for that introvert to partner with an extrovert if you can't do it yourself, and then just ride on their coattails, and eventually people will scratch the surface and get to know you. So
That's beautiful. And one of the best ways to meet people in this, you know, meet your introvert, meet your extrovert, whatever it's going to be, has to be Marvelous Mondays. It's noon every Monday. Angel, do you want to say a thing or two about this before we continue Tate's presentation?
Yeah, absolutely can. If you're looking for a great place to meet syndicators, aspiring syndicators, passive investors, and just real estate enthusiasts, the Marvelous Mondays meetup is a really great place to do that. We have 25 to 40 people that we're kind of a family. We pretty much religiously meet every Monday, noon Eastern, rain, shine, holiday, birthday, doesn't really matter. There are people that are going to show up every single Monday, and we would love to see you there. It's just a great place to be.
And if it is somebody's birthday, you should be warned that there might be singing involved. So that's a thing. It's been known to happen. But this is the REI Rocks Review. We are here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter or X or whatever. I noticed that X is on twitter.com still, so how it's not Twitter, I don't even know. But yeah, we're all over the place, and you should subscribe, and that's awesome. But let's continue Tate's presentation. And Tate, if you want me to pause at any part, just let me know, and I'll make it happen.
Like I've always had that attitude that if I can watch somebody in front of me do it, I can figure out how to do it by watching them. And Tony Robbins, the whole success leaves clues thing is so true, I think. And so I'm always looking for the model, right? Like Corey was the model for a long time for us, and we kind of modeled our trajectory after him. And since then we brought in other influences, and so yeah, so I'm here to give as much value and help anybody that might be sitting at 0 units or 20 units or 50 units. I'm here to help you guys. First of all, believe that you can get to 500 units or 1,000 units or 5,000 units. Like that is real. And the biggest thing that stands between you and achieving that is the 6 inches between your ears. Like that's so, like the truth behind that is so profound that I've heard it say, like, the most important real estate to develop is the real estate between your ears, right? And I think that mindset piece, and I know that you're big on mindset, Angel, and I know that this conference there's a lot of talk on mindset, Trevor and Dr. Jamil, and I mean some amazing mindset speakers. Like Dr. Jamil Sayed is absolutely brilliant and life-changing. And yeah, so learn as much as you can.
I'm just gonna say that, like, hey, this guy's my friend. He's my friend. So that's, you can say that you're umming and you're stammering, but I am so proud to be your friend right now, and I've been proud to be your friend before too. But it's like you're going after it, and that takes a lot of strength.
It's fun. I really love it. I love this whole thing. I love what I do. I love my team. I feel blessed to get to do what I do, and for me, like this week to get that deal basically under contract, we were in an on-market competitive situation with people that had 7 figures in hard earnest money on the table. That's what we were competing against. And I went to the market to view the property and walk it, meet everybody that I needed to meet, including
I think it's glossary and definition time. Okay, for anybody in the audience, 7 figures in hard money day one. What does that mean? It's not as common to need anything like that these days. But I don't know, Tate. I see that you're unmuted, but you're off camera there. Or Jason, who wants to say what that means? Hard money day one.
Hard money day one means that your earnest money is immediately non-refundable. Usually with a few carve outs for title. You can try to negotiate some other carve outs, maybe even for financing if you're very lucky, but usually not. Usually the financing is part of the what you're kind of risking when you do non-refundable earnest money on day one. So hard equals non-refundable.
Right. That means if it falls through, then that money's gone. That ship has sailed. It's not coming back to port at all. So thanks for that. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Real quick on that. I don't know if I share about this or not coming up here, but we had a big deal. It was originally a $27 million acquisition in Columbus last year that we put under contract right before the interest rate crisis started to happen. And as we were under contract, we had issues with both the loan and bigger issues with equity. It was a $12 million capital raise, and we were sourcing institutional equity, and we had a group on board that bailed, and we had another group on board that bailed, and we ended up not getting the deal done. We lost a ton of earnest money, and it was painful. It was painful. So think multiple 6 figures and not just 2 or 3. So it was, like I said, painful, and it's part of the game if you're playing that game. It's
right.
And we were in an environment back then that non-refundable earnest money was much more common than it is right now, although there are still some markets that it's very common to see, when in a highest and best situation, to see hard earnest money being offered.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how much things can change. But one of the things we have to do to keep our lights on, we depend on sponsors to support all of these different content creation efforts that we do. And so please take one moment to hear about our gold sponsor. Let's do this.
Hey guys, it's Angel, and we are super excited to announce our newest gold sponsors, Sponsor Cloud. If you're wondering what Sponsor Cloud is the one-stop shop for sponsors to automate, to delegate, to execute every aspect of their syndication projects, from affordable PPM generation to investor relationship management to fund administration and compliance, exclusive capital raising networking events. Plus, for the REI Rocks community, they're going to offer free migration and customer success services when switching from another provider. That's like a $2,000 value. So contact Sponsor Cloud, contact them today, and see how much time and money you can save. You can visit.
All right, so the next thing that I wanted to mention is we are finally just less than 1 month away from the next REI Rocks Summit, which is where all this content comes from. So Angel, do you want to say a thing or two about that for us? Oh, I'll unmute you. Oh, you have to.
There we go.
There we
I'm like, I'm sitting here talking and I'm muted. So our summits are really fun. They're really awesome. They're my favorite 6 days of the year because we do it twice and each one is 3 days. We have about 50 to 60 speakers, panelists, roundtable participants, masterclass instructors. There's Q&A, there's networking. There is a ton of stuff going on, and there's generally somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 hours of free content. So you've got access to all of that free content, all that free content without ever upgrading to the live side. The live side is pretty intimate. There's about 30 to 40 people, and it has a super mastermind feel. And so that side is a lot of fun too. So there's 2 ways to get to the live side. You can get the VIP upgrade ticket, or you can do a VIP subscription on our new Mighty Networks platform page. We've got a community there, and it is super awesome, and we'd love to have you join us.
All right, awesome. Yeah, you'll find out how to upgrade, and it's great because if you do have the VIP subscription, then you can actually preview the old presentations by the new speakers, so you can prepare your questions for the live summit and really get extra bang for your buck. But this is the REI Rocks review. We're reviewing Tate Siemer's presentation. Let's continue. Here we go.
Broker and the property manager, and to put together our strongest offer. And it flying halfway across the country to do that really I think Angel, I think it was Saturday afternoon at the conference when I booked my flight. And so it's kind of, you got to be ready to do that at the drop of a hat on the one hand. On the other hand, if you have somebody on your team that can do that, like me, then you don't have to do that. Like Carl travels and he's willing to go and do the hard work and some of the dirty work if necessary in our markets. But I'm the single guy with no kids, and I can jump on a plane and kind of at a moment's notice and go get her done.
Yeah, but there's so much more to it than just that. Lots of people can hop on a plane and show up somewhere.
Yeah, it's true.
There's something really unique about the ability to connect with people quickly, and not everybody can do that. And you going up against people that had 7 figures going hard, and not putting that same thing on the table and still getting the deal, that speaks volumes about your ability to connect and basically win people over. That's big time sales. And I hate calling it sales. That's really what we're all doing.
Yeah.
We're all selling ourselves to other people, but when you can do it without being salesy,
right,
that's a big done. And I mean, I haven't known you like 24/7 or anything, but every time that we've talked, you've never pulled that salesy feel.
No, yeah.
You're not at all. And so don't sell yourself short, because it wasn't just about you hopping on a plane going down there.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure lots of people hopped on a plane and went down there.
No, I appreciate that. And you're right. There is more to it than that. And, as far as like ability to connect, like if you are in a position where you're kind of questioning that in yourself, just be yourself. I mean, take any pressure that you have on yourself to be anything other than you, take that away and just be you. Angels, you're the perfect example of this. And I mean, you really embody like just being you and being comfortable, like you said, in your own skin. And that is the first thing. People just want to be, I think I talk to people the way that I want to be talked to, which is like a grown up, mature, relatively intelligent adult human being. And none of us want to be sold. None of us want to be schmoozed or patronized or, in a way that is manipulative. And so I just try to be authentic, and I do try to authentically connect with people. And here's a great thing to write down, everybody. Write this down. What do you do for fun? Question mark. That question is gold. When you're in these situations and you're meeting with brokers, meeting with investors, meeting with partners, and you're building these relationships, right?
So a minute ago, we were talking about being coachable. So Tate, I got to ask you, what do you do for fun?
That's great. My number one passion is skiing. I'm a snow skier here in Utah. I moved here 24 years ago, specifically to ski. I moved from Cincinnati, and that's my jam. My summer jam is mountain biking and camping. I have a little teardrop camper that sleeps 2 people inside and 2 people on the top in a rooftop tent, and it's got a kitchen and a fridge and hot water. It's really, really fun. So that's those and music. Music is a big thing for me. I go to a lot of concerts and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, great question for sure.
All
right, let's continue.
Coachable, Dan.
I do what I can, right?
People want to talk about what they do for fun. Like that's what they're passionate about. And yeah, they want to talk business, and yeah, they're passionate about business too. But when you show that level of interest, that's beyond how can we work together kind of interest, but like, hey, you know what? That suit's super sharp. Like, you're a good dresser, aren't you? I can see that. Like, I'll say stuff like that to people. And I pulled that out a couple of times at the conference last week, and people, they light up. They light up when you say stuff like that, and they light up when you even if they, some people just work hard and don't do a whole lot for fun, but when you ask them that, you show interest and a level of care and concern about them and who they are as people, right? You're like connecting as people first, and then let's talk business.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to forget that part.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I kind of pride myself on it, but I usually know something kind of quirky or weird about a lot of different people, and it's how I remember them. There's just certain ways I remember certain people, and it's not because they're a rock star in real estate. It's not because they always wear a suit. It's not because they drive a certain car. Sometimes it's just because of something like they owned a bungee company business in the 90s.
Yeah.
And there is a specific person in this real estate investing space that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said that to me, I was like, what? And I won't forget it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like those connections mean so much more, because I like to be able to say that, hey, we are friends.
Right.
I did know you from a long time ago when you were first getting your start. And we have that kind of a length of relationship to have. If I was having an issue, you'd be one of the people on my list to call. If somebody fixes it before you, I might not make it to you, but you'd be on my list. And I think that's important, because I believe that we get further building relationships than we do building transactions. And I don't know, transactions can be kind of easy. Relationships can get tough.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And partnerships can get tough. Like business partnerships can get tough, and deals and transactions almost invariably do get tough at some point. And that's just real. And it's important to pick your partners well and choose wisely. And I'm a big fan of date before you marry. In other words, do deals together, like partner up on deals, but don't necessarily worry about partnering up on your LLC or your, bringing in a partner into your interior business. Like, do you be your entity? In my case, I had a partner, so it's a little bit different than what I'm saying, but I happen to be blessed with a partner that I just have a really great natural rapport with, and we've worked together for 22 years. And if it wasn't for the positive, and then Chelsea's just Chelsea. So if it wasn't for how great those two were, like, I definitely I'd be just partnering on a deal by deal basis. And I really encourage people to do that until and eventually, if you want to grow your business, you want to partner up and scale that way, that's great. But just start by doing deals kind of one at a time, and everything will kind of fall into place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've said this one a couple of different times, but number one, don't be afraid to let people know things are going sideways, because I think we all have that human nature in us where we want to help you. If things are going sideways, dang it, what can I do to help? What do you need? We're going to hop in. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. But even beyond that, like, when you start going into deals, there's a reason why people go in with their LLC and they don't go in with a personal name. And it's not just to protect themselves, like financially. It's because if someone has to leave, it's easier if you're in an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had many people that are big names in the space tell me that. And I wouldn't have known it if I hadn't shared the fact that things were going a little sideways, which you got to swallow that pride and get a little courage if you're going to ask for help. But just know that everybody goes through it. You're not going to find your perfect team day one.
Yeah.
Maybe not even day 120.
Yeah.
But you're going to find people that you work well with.
Yep.
You'll find people.
So I want to get Jason into the conversation at that point. It's of course to segue into underwriting, but really, and I need to pause and unpause
You don't work well
that's there you
Yep.
go. Now we got a smile. That's much better. Okay, instead of the spooky look there. But so that's one of the. I think that engineers, we tend to be a bit different. Numbers speak to us in a way that they don't with most people. And for me, like what got me excited to join with Lauren Capital was it's like, okay, Jason is going to deep dive into the numbers. He's going to do the underwriting. He's going to figure out how all this stuff works. Jason, like, what do you think on that subject?
Well, we at Lauren Capital believe strongly in working within our superpowers. So Angel's is relationships. Mine is one of them is numbers and spreadsheets. So I'm definitely working on that. And I do have an underwriting course. We are just about to launch our video course on our platform right now. I'm still doing one-on-ones. So if you want to get one-on-one coaching on underwriting, hit me up soon before the price goes up, because we will be launching the video course pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely, and that's the thing. So you did a lot. You helped a lot of different syndicators around the United States with their commercial underwriting on several different asset types, and that used to be how you would market yourself. Is just, hey, you want me to help with the underwriting? That's something I'll offer. But now it's upgraded to the actual training, the mentorship, whatever you want to call it. And I think that this is a great option here. So we've only got a few minutes left, so let's continue. But get ready for the doggy bag and your takeaway for everybody on here. Let's continue.
Yep.
But I don't know. I think you got fortunate to have somebody that you knew you could come into the business with, that you had a good relationship with.
Yeah. No, and we did everything together, and we took all the risks together, and worked our butts off together. And he's quite different than me, and we have very different skill sets and kind of natural abilities. What we fall into naturally inside of our business is quite different. I'm doing this sort of thing, and doing my podcast, and running our meetup group, and broker relations, and underwriting deals with Chelsea, and doing that end of things. And Carl is doing the CFO type stuff and asset management type stuff, and he's just a great tactician. And I know that if I need something researched, or like an equity source pursued or whatever, he's on it. And it's just a great symbiosis there. And I'm pretty much the captain of the ship, and everybody's great with that, and including me. Like I kind of thrive in that spot. And yet Chelsea and Carl I see as very much as co-captains with me, and I look to them equally, and I see them as every bit as important inside of our business as I am. And ultimately, our residents and our investors are the most important people in our business. Like that's really who we do it all for. But we love each other, and we're tight, and we got each other's back, and it's fun to be in business with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. I got to ask, because we just got out across the finish line, and it was just under 2 million on the raise, and that was tough.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't imagine doing 4 like that. That's like a little scary to me.
Yep.
Yeah. How on earth did you get the courage to go big or go home?
Well, first of all, that is actually one of our core value. Our stated core values is go big or go bigger. As a business, we are, we say that in fun largely, but as you know, anytime you say something, it's not always all joking. Like there's some seriousness behind that. And so what it's come down to, Angel, is like when we were talking about this before we started recording, you get to a point in your growth where you either double down on what you just did, raising that 2 million organically, and you just go all gangbusters on that and raise as much as you possibly can through that grassroots marketing. And I think that's a great way of doing business, and a great way of raising capital. And we have opted to kind of go in another way, which is to source some larger sources of capital, private equity sources, things like family offices, insurance offices, and just private individuals that can stroke bigger checks and want to do, you know, $5 to $25 million equity placements. And so we have been working on relationships with those sources and have a few really good ones in place that are excited about what we're up to and want to work with us and want to do these bigger deals. So ironically, like we've got a deal that's smaller right now that we're working on, and it's like a $2.8 million raise. That money I anticipate is going to be harder to raise than the 8.6 million that we're going to have to raise for this bigger deal that we just got. And it's because these big equity sources want to write big checks, and they typically want to be like the only ones involved, or maybe one of the only ones involved. So they
Angel, it looked like you just mouthed, "Hey, can you pause it for a sec?" But you're muted. So
No, I did. That is exactly what I said. I'm glad you could read lips. So I was at an event last night and I was talking to a friend of mine and we were discussing like potentially trying to get a deal under contract right now. And this particular friend has done many, many more deals than me. I would assume has a much more extensive investor list. And he looked at me just as serious as can be. And he was like, "How are you going to raise capital for a deal right now?" And it kind of shocked me because I don't think that this particular person has ever had problems raising money. And the way he looked at me and just the seriousness of how in the world are you going to raise money right now? Nobody can raise money right now. Just shocked me. Like, Tate, are you seeing the same thing? Because you've got deals coming up, right?
Yeah, we're about to find out. I mean, we're literally launching 2 capital raises this next week. So, you know, I would say on the pref side, we've found pref. So there's institutional equity is out there and still wants to play ball. So I think that being in the right market right now is key. I think affordability is more key than it's ever been. So I'm a big believer in kind of the middle Midwest markets, the Cincinnati's and obviously Columbus and Louisville and Indianapolis. You know, those sorts of markets, and those are all very close together, by the way, within 3 hours of each other. I wouldn't go north of Columbus. I wouldn't go to Cleveland or Detroit, but or even Pittsburgh. But I really think that some of these, like Cincinnati is a good example of a market that's still affordable on a price per unit basis versus the rent that you're getting. So, you know, think 1% rule, and it's growing. You know, there's growth happening there. So that's if you can find good deals in that type of what I think of as a hybrid market, then you know, I think it's a lot easier to find equity for situations like that. I think the speculative markets right now, the Austins and Salt Lake Cities and you know, the expensive, some of the expensive Sunbelt markets like Nashville, everything's just still prohibitive cost wise.
Yeah.
So Tate, I was just thinking too that you and I believe we met in 2020, so that's already been 3 years, which is kind of mind blowing. I guess time flies when you're having fun. But I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a complete tease, which is why we're not going to be able to finish this presentation. That is only if you have the VIP subscription. So what we do instead is we do the doggy bag or the takeaway. And yeah, Tate, that was just a prolonged segue. I'm sorry, it wasn't really a big thing. But
Cool.
but Angel, do you want to start things off with the doggy bag? What are your takeaways from this amazing presentation?
So I think really there's 2 main ones for me. One being the willingness to be coachable and to be open to change, even though as humans we are inherently against it. Being coachable and being open to change are very, very important. And the other part is to not be afraid to just be you. It's it's a lot more acceptable to be you with all of your ums and ands and all of those extra pieces
Right.
than it is to try and fix it and it be perfect all the time, because in real life nothing's ever perfect. It's always a little messy. And being able to share that messiness without being all self-conscious and worried about it, I think it makes things easier in the long run, and it makes people appreciate that you're not afraid to show that things are a little messy sometimes.
I love it. I love it. Jason, how about you?
So I like the idea of going big or going bigger. And also that success leaves clues. So for, say, a $12 million raise, I've never done it. I've known plenty of people who can do it. So that shouldn't limit my capacity for going after bigger things, because like I know it can be done. I have contacts with people who've done it, and go big or go bigger. So that's my doggy bag. Is I'm going to go look for a $12 million raise. So that's a $30 million property.
Yep.
You're killing me,
That's
Jason.
awesome. That's so funny. That's funny. So I don't usually chime in for the doggy bag. I do want to mention one though, which is a lot of people. If I say this term exuding competence, most people would think that I mean exuding confidence, and I'm talking about something completely different. It's just showing really obviously on your sleeve that you know how to do what you're up to. And I bring that up in the context of, I think, Tate, there's a lot of the golden rule in how you speak to investors, syndicators, and whatnot. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I think that's a lot of what you tap into to be so successful in that crowd. It's they look at you and it's pretty clear that, hey, after this call, I'm going to go do exactly what I just said I'm going to do. I'm going to be pursuing this property, and I'm going to get that across the finish line. I'm not going to be, doing something, like, I don't know, flying the jet to some obscure fishing hole or whatever. You get the idea. That's my takeaway. Have I got that right, or Tate? Do you have some takeaways from this presentation that you want to share before we give everybody back the rest of their day?
First of all, I just super flattering, guys, to get to do this with you and hopefully contribute something of value to your group and your folks. So I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate everything that, all of you just said, very flattering and humbling. I think, to me, I don't know if this is directly from the presentation, but whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can always be authentic, right? And I think authenticity is like the most delicious thing that you can offer another person. What it's like when you meet somebody and they're just completely real with you and vulnerable and humble, and but at the same time, like you said, Dan, competent, and also you can also, in my opinion, be confident and still exude humility and authentic interest in other people. And so, to me, like, our ability, a coach once told me, one of my primary coaches once told me, he said, Tate, life's just a series of conversations, man. And if you think about it, like, everything that happens inside of our business happens inside of interpersonal relationships and conversations. And so that, to me, is like our currency. And the better that you can be at those people skills that make people really just want to, like, hang out with you and be around you more, like, everything else, in my opinion, will kind of almost take care of itself if you're taking care of all the other things too, obviously. So again, on that, I just think the more masterful we all can be at relating to other people and making other people feel good about themselves, I think is like ultimately the goal that I try to, I try to carry with me pretty much everywhere, but especially inside of business is, be authentic, but be, somebody that uplifts others, makes other people feel good. Just the littlest compliment, the littlest notice of like, hey, how do you like driving your Tesla, kind of, like stuff like that. Like it just, it all goes a lot further than I think we all realize. So
Yeah. Well, that brings me back to like one of my favorite quotes. It's the Maya Angelou quote of people aren't always going to remember what you said or what you did, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel.
yeah, that's
And
a great
so
one.
I'm always trying to think about that because I've been in conversations where I walk away from them feeling like the dumbest person in the world. And I don't want to feel that way. And I don't ever want someone to walk away from a conversation with me feeling that way because I
Yeah,
don't ever want to do that to someone.
yeah, yep, that's it.
So, Jason, you look like you had one more thing to say before we call it a day. Okay.
Nope, I was just gonna wish everyone a happy weekend, and we'll see everyone on Monday.
Sounds good to me. Good deal. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate you coming here. And Tate, I appreciate you joining us. It's been fantastic having you.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Have a great
Tate.
day, everybody. See you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.